In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast. I am Amit. That is KDot. KDot, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's great to be back. It's been like 2-3 weeks since we last done it.
Weeks at this point. That's right.
I missed this pod, man. I've missed doing this.
Me too. And there was, but it was one of those things where there was, look at the Commanders. There's nothing going on right now. Absolutely nothing going on in the news. Let's begin with Jahan Dotson being a beast in OTA. No, we got bigger things to talk about. Much bigger things to talk about than Jahan, who we all believe will be a good player. And that's great that he's doing well at OTAs. Jack Del Rio made some comments, and we're going to have to talk about those. So we're going to begin the show with that. And then we are going to transition because it had immediate ramifications to the new stadium deal. Where Virginia and DC both essentially have pulled out. We'll get into the finer details in a moment. Virginia tabled it technically, so it could come back. DC, Muriel Bowser said some stuff. We'll get into it, and then we conclude with the comment mailbag, and we'll talk a little bit after the pod. KDot, we got to begin with Del Rio though. So just a quick synopsis for those who somehow don't know about this. Jack Del Rio. Turns out he's a little active on Twitter at times. And this time, what he ends up doing is he responds to a tweet, and we're talking about January 6th. We're talking about the George Floyd murder, things of that nature. And he basically goes, hey, I feel there's a double standard here. This is all paraphrasing. I feel there's a double standard here. People's livelihoods have been taken away. Businesses have been burned down, things like that. But we focus on January 6th so much. Why do we do that? And he would end up getting asked about it at OTAs, and he opens up and he goes, we're talking about a dust up at the Capitol. That's the big word that everyone's using right now, is a dust up at the Capitol, where of course, I believe 7 people died over there, including an officer. And so KDot, this team has, I would say, worked hard to try and change its image. I think there has been a lot of change at the top. Talk about Jason Wright, Julie Donaldson, Ron Rivera was brought in not just as a disciplinarian, but also just for the high character guy he is. These comments by Jack Del Rio, what do you make of them? And in the context of the organization, what is this doing for the perception of the team?
First off, Jack Del Rio's comment is what anything we've heard from Jack Del Rio over the last few days a shock to anyone that knows Jack Del Rio? Absolutely not. You look back during the Colin Kaepernick deal, he had controversial things to say back then. I think what we're noticing, and look, I don't necessarily want to be careful with my words right now, if I'm being completely honest. I see the comments we get. I go on Washington Twitter and see all the fandoms. I know we're a very, very good percentage of our fan base lines politically, and a lot of them agree with what Jack Del Rio is saying. But I think that the thing is that the bullshit false equivalency, the nonsense that I'm just asking questions along the lines of what a Tucker Carlson does on Fox News, where you're not really asking any fucking question. All you're trying to be is inflammatory. You have the pulpit in which you have these ideals in which you want to speak, and you kind of want to shut everybody else out. There's no looking beyond that other than the tweet that nobody's talking about that Jack Del Rio did, which is somebody answered his questions, which was, why are we not talking about, and somebody said, hey, we're talking about the systemic racism and police brutality compared to an insurrection there where people were looking to potentially overturn the government. And he says, yeah, Pinocchio face. He's not interested in having the conversation. He never has been. There's a willful ignorance there. And the thing is that I look at this guy and I look at, you're supposed to be the leader of the defense. How am I supposed to know, because you come at it with such disingenuity? Is that a word? Being so disingenuous.
There you go. Sure.
That how am I supposed to be in the locker room knowing that you feel this way? You're not really wanting to have any sort of open dialogue or open conversation. I know Jonathan Allen came out and he said something. I think they got another person said, and they're toting the line. They're trying to be good guys and not trying to cause any dust ups or anything. But this speaks to who Jack Del Rio, or dust up. Sorry,
good use of dust up there. No, I like that.
I didn't mean to do it. Again, and then the apology was basically, hey, I'm sorry for any white people I offended. Fuck you, niggers. That's what I heard through that statement, right? I'm gonna double down on what I said. But
it also was in quotes, which I found hilarious.
This dude is, but look, Ron Rivera, you said it, is supposed to be the disciplinarian. Ron Rivera is supposed to be the guy who constantly talks about how he wants to leave certain aspects of the team in the past, right? We're sick of the distractions. You saw Ron Rivera get as angry as you ever seen him last year when everything was going down. We were starting to lose the games. We were talking about all the shit that was happening in the locker room, right? This is one of the coaches that you handpicked to run your defense. Let's talk about early last year when the first, how many games we were talking about how undisciplined the defense was, how nobody on the defensive line were doing anything as far as their assignments. Then I go look at the guy up top and see the kind of statements that he's making and the flames that he's stoking because he's on a fucking loop of Newsmax and fucking Fox News, and all he can do is regurgitate talking points without having a legitimate conversation. Yeah, I can see why the defense looked undisciplined. You're not getting it from the leader.
No. So, there are a lot of people with a lot of different thoughts, of course. And I think Stephen A. Smith on First Take had said, hey, to an extent, we should applaud Jack Del Rio because he just said what a lot of people are quiet about. Mm-hmm. And in that respect, yeah. I would also say, hey, when he said he wanted to have a conversation on the surface, that sounds great. But as you brought up, there was that tweet where it was, yeah, Pinocchio face. So his mind is more or less made up.
Right.
In the quoted apology, I'm going to keep saying that because the least he could have done was remove the quotation marks. That was quite clearly written by somebody else, right? If I'm writing an apology to you, KDot, or to anybody, I'm not starting it with quotes. I'm just writing, right? So the likelihood he wrote it very slim, but in there goes, I respect all peaceful protests in America. And if we go back to his time, like you had alluded to with Colin Kaepernick and the national anthem, players kneeling, he straight up said, hey, look, people have the right to do what they want, but as an organization, this doesn't reflect our values. And I would prefer that people do this on their own time. I don't want to see my players kneeling. Once again, paraphrasing, but it's the double standard immediately that exists, right?
Yep.
For an organization that's been trying to turn it around for so long and consistently shoots themselves in the foot, sometimes it's the new people, most times it's just the skeletons of the past. But when there are moments like this where the new ones, right? Del Rio is one of the new ones. Mm-hmm. This is his second time in as many years that he's been able to shoot his mouth off and say whatever he's wanted and just said, I'm an American, I love this country, implying we don't, we do, I honestly think, like, how does Ron choose to keep him? I'm just being honest, especially because of what we're preaching. And I agree with Brian Mitchell, who also brought it up the other day on the radio, where he's like, you're getting mad at Jeremy Reeves for popping De'Ami Brown on the field. Take a look at your defensive coordinator. He's coaching mostly black athletes, right? I'm shocked that, great for Jonathan Allen. He said all the right things. I want him to be on the team for life, right? He's amazing. Thank goodness for Jonathan Allen. But he shouldn't even have to be in that position, right?
No.
Immediately when questions go away from football, we are losing. That's just what happens. We know it all too well. It happens here all the time. So I don't know how he stays in a job, and I'm being honest about that, because the defense wasn't great last year. It could be great this year with him there. And he won't, and maybe he will get the chance to turn around, and I hope he does have those conversations that he's saying he wants to have. But I think I'm just shocked, especially when the January 6th hearings began. We have 6 more to go.
That's how you know he's been watching nothing but fucking conservative news.
And the first one, right? The only group that didn't show it was Fox News. It was
Had
damning.
Tucker go commercial free. That's how much they wanted to
they
make
gave
sure.
Up millions to make sure.
Because there's Sean Hannity text messages that were being read. They made sure that he talked through that entire thing commercial free, so you didn't change the channel. An echo chamber. Now, here's the thing. I'll keep the same energy. Jack Del Rio should be able to say whatever the fuck it is you want to say. And I agree with Stephen Ale on this line too. I much appreciate knowing where motherfuckers stand. I don't like side-eye bullshit. I don't like it. Look, if you want to hear, everybody here listen to this podcast can tell me everything they learned over the years in Black History Month about the I Have a Dream speech. But Lord knows most of you motherfuckers have no idea about anything about the letters from Birmingham, and what it is he said about the moderate white voter or things like that, or how it is that you can smile in my face and then vote against any sort of affordable housing in your neighborhood. NIMBY is all that bullshit. Look, we want to have a conversation. I'm more than willing to do it. But what Jack is doing right now is just being another puppet talking head bullshitter. You go through his Twitter, there's nothing but Dinesh D'Souza fucking 20,000 mule documentary hits and all. We know where you stand, Jack. Cool. But here's what you do. When you do this shit, not only are you now a distraction for the team, where you're supposed to be a coach trying to eliminate those distractions, right?
Right.
Not only are you doing that, now I have to look at everything you do under scrutiny. Because if you're doing this at this angle of willful ignorance, if you're doing it at this angle of bully pulpit, I have to look at all your decision making, whether or not you're benching players for certain reasons, whether or not you can have open conversations and dialogue with certain players that you have in the locker room. I don't know. I'm going to question all of it. I'm going to question all of it through a lens of a dude that's willfully ignorant about certain things that are going to mean a lot to the players of which he's coaching. And here's the thing. All the Washington players, look, Jonathan Allen, kudos as far as the way you handle like a true professional. But I will say, if there are any players that are actually offended by what he says, please speak up.
You're right.
Speak up.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
Please speak up. And if you speak up and challenge the dialogue. I mean, Ron, last year we heard, what was it, 2 years when they stopped practice to bring in people to actually talk about what was happening as far as the racial dynamic in the country, right around the George Floyd protests. Like, that was something that Ron did. He brought in people to really talk about the shit so that we could all really understand it. I'm guessing Jack skipped those, or he didn't fucking care when he was in it, which just goes to he won't change his mind. This is what I go to a lot. Motherfuckers keep talking about beliefs. I believe this. I believe that. I believe that. You should just have thoughts and ideas. You say belief. It comes from a standpoint. It almost makes you feel like you're losing faith if you were to backtrack on something you said. You don't need to do that. You should change your opinion the more you learn things. That's how we grow. And if I were to ask Jack Del Rio if he's ever read the new Jim Crow, autobiography of Malcolm X, any Coates book, any of that shit, no. But you can regurgitate Thomas Sowell fucking quotes that somebody else fucking did. That's cool, but it's just, it's beyond asinine. The fact that he can't honestly look at the question that he asked and tell the difference is ridiculous. It's just ridiculous on a surface level. But when you asked me at the beginning, what does this mean as far as the franchise as a whole? Look, it's more of the same. I mean, that's the thing is Washington has been over history. I'm sorry, guys, on the wrong side of it time and time again. We were the last team to integrate. As a matter of fact, the only reason we did integrate is because John F. Kennedy was president at the time, sort of forced the issue. Remember, the land that RFK was on was federal. Does this not sound familiar to things that are in the news that we're about to get to? Like, what we integrated with Ernie Davis and then traded him for fucking Bobby Mitchell. Like, come on, like,
great player.
We were the last ones to do that. People don't want to talk about that. Do we want to talk about the fact that the theme song, our fight song, said "Fight for Old Dixie"? We were the fucking team of the South. We were the team of the South. We voted against Dallas becoming an expansion team because we knew they were going to integrate off the bat and they were going to be playing in Texas, which made them a fucking threat. That's why. That's why there are a lot of black Cowboys fans in the area. They refused to root for the team that wouldn't integrate. Can we not talk about it? Can we talk about the fact that the Redskins name was a fucking derogatory name that we all at some point in time defended because of our allegiance to this fucking team that doesn't do shit for us?
Yeah, I mean, so first off, outstanding history lesson there, KDot. But it's true, right? I mean, time and time again, these things keep happening, which is why I'm of the belief, look, Jack Del Rio has every right to say what he wants to say, what he feels he needs to say, stuff like that. The organization also has their right to do whatever they want to do. I just feel bad for the players, right? Because they are always caught in the crossfire. Whenever people go, I'm done with this team, whatever, it's never the players, ever. It's always upper management. It's always the owner. It's always these people that don't play a down of football at all. It has nothing to do with these players. So I feel so bad for them that they have to keep going through this. And all they want to do is focus. All they want to do is focus on the sport. Okay. So hopefully they can turn around. Hopefully they choose to play for Jack Del Rio if he is retained. I imagine he will be retained because that's just the way it seems to work. But we're gonna see what happens in probably the coming week. If I'm being honest, I think we'll get a lot more clarity at that point. I'm sure people are gonna ask, "Did you see the hearing? You know, the first one on January 6th." I'm sure.
I was watching Tucker.
Yeah, well, I was busy making sure our defense is going to be the best it can be. And so, you know, I work hard at my job and I'm looking out for the guys. It's a very easy answer to deflect. But
can I say one thing?
Of course you can.
This is directly to the fans that I know are watching that disagree with everything I'm saying.
Sure. Assuming they're still here. Go ahead.
Assuming they're still here.
Which we appreciate.
Shut these brown guys up. Like I'm sorry. I'm not trying to classify all of you in this way. But I will tell you this. There's a stigma, or there's a sense of conversation I see a lot of times, whether it be on the forums back when it was extremeskins.com, all the way up through anything you see on Twitter and everything else, which is that if you kind of in the same vein that if you criticize America, just go somewhere else or go, or in the same, if I criticize this franchise, well, go root for someone else. Go root for, oh, you guys are talking about historical race. Go root for something. Look, I come from, the way I was raised, when it's somebody or something that you love is when you should probably criticize it more than any time else because you want something better. The idea that you're going to be okay with the status quo forever does not speak to any sort of love or appreciation or want for grow or change. And I don't understand that philosophy. It is usually from the same people that are so angry about participation trophies and snowflakes and this, that, and the other. I criticize this franchise because I have love for it. I was raised here. I have lots of great memories of these players and these coaches. And he said, even though in my lifetime, I was 2 years old the last time we won a fucking Super Bowl. I don't remember that. So even through all that pain and shit, I still root for this burgundy and gold. And to think that I can't be critical of them or that I should go get some. Nah, how about y'all learn your fucking history about this franchise fully if you're going to claim that you're going to be a fan, and then realize that there are certain ways in which we can improve. And that comes from no place other than love.
100%. 100%. That's why I'm still here too. And I think there's something to be said. There's something to be said about, hey, when you're critical, it's because you care, right? Like if you become apathetic, and I'll admit I became apathetic for a little bit there, it's because I felt so beaten down by the franchise, right? So the fact that we're still going, right? I came right back in. I was like, screw it. I can't quit this team. Come on. It doesn't feel the same. It's not right.
Can't quit you.
So then, yeah, I'm going to be critical alongside with KDot over here because we do care and we do want more for this team. On the subject of Del Rio or whomever, I want this team to be able to play with absolute freedom. Okay. I just want them to be able to, on the field, have no distractions. That's step one for me. No distractions. Let them focus on their assignments. Let them focus on doing what they do best. That's making plays. They didn't work their entire lives to answer questions like this.
Right.
Let's be real. They worked their entire lives, made many sacrifices so that they could play on Sundays, make money for their families, and continue to be in positions to succeed. This goes the exact opposite direction. I think that's why I'm taking sort of a harder stance here, going, I put the hashtag not my DC. Makes sense on many levels. Jack Del Rio does not, to me, represent what this organization should be about, though historically it seems that's exactly what we're about. But we're going to go ahead and move on because it had immediate ramifications, KDot. It had immediate ramifications on the new stadium deal. So there were heavy rumors that it was going to happen in Virginia. There was going to be a vote on the bill and things like that. But now, after Jack Del Rio's comments, some people came out and said, actually, no, not interested in dealing with this team. That put him over the top. We've already got an owner that is inflammatory himself, that causes chaos, that doesn't seem to be a great leader. I was being very kind there. And now we have Jack Del Rio doing this. So Virginia has tabled the bill, at least for another year. So the earliest they can do something is next year, which to me means let me see if something changes, because we still want it here, right? But we need to see some change. We're a stakeholder. If we're going to give you a ton of money and taxpayer money, we need to see something. That's Virginia. DC, I think, almost had a stronger stance from a number of the representatives here, which was, we are not going to use RFK Stadium for an NFL franchise. In fact, we want to use it for more affordable housing, for greens, parks, things like that. We feel that would be a better use of the space. Frankly, I don't disagree. I think that the population just continues to rise. DC's coming up all over the place. We need more affordable housing. We need, the parks and stuff like that. Made sense to me. Muriel Bowser pushed back and said, no, this is not done. We'll see what happens there. But KDot, if the stadium is not in Virginia, it's not in DC, a couple things. One, Maryland is in a position of tremendous power here because they go, well, I guess you're stuck with us, right? There's no leverage there. But the other thing is, I want you to put a percentage chance on this. Does Dan Snyder just relocate?
No.
Okay.
Look, Dan's you know what? You said your percentage?
Percentage.
Fuck 10. Let's go 10%.
Yeah. I go
just
5 to 10. Yeah.
He's a jackass. So it's like, I mean, shit, Maryland, you get a nice slot of land off the Potomac near National Harbor, maybe get a little stadium action, I don't know. Next to the casinos, just create a little, next to the highways, I don't know. The, look, this stadium thing has been a fucking fiasco. Jason Wright, Dan, y'all flying all over looking at fucking what y'all are fucking this. Here's the thing. Y'all can do as much as you want to of that shit. The stank is on us, man. The stank is on us. And Del Rio's dumbass these comments in the worst possible time where we're trying to turn the chapter, right? So it's like, if you're talking about the senators and everything, initially, what was it, a few weeks ago, one of the Democratic state senator, or no, it was Republican state senator for Virginia, was talking about how, like, look, they want to build this stadium and everything. There's no name recognition or brand recognition with the Commanders. Just isn't. Like, it's one thing, I get the name change, blah, 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 whatever you think about it. Okay, you're no longer the Redskins. You're not even watching your football team. You're the Commanders, which is something new. Then even they're talking about you can see the way that we even feel about the team. We go from having the stadium that at one point had the largest capacity of any in the league to the word is they want a 55,000 seat stadium.
Yeah.
Say no, they can't sell out anything more. And it's like, it's just a shit show. Like, if you want to, you got to get people excited about things. And the thing is that, like, we want to bring the good things from history as far as this franchise, the things that we can be proud of with this on this new journey as we continue. We don't have to say bye to all of it, but there's a lot of shit and there's a lot of baggage that we do need to fucking let go of. And it seems as though at every turn, every opportunity, we still want to drag our bullshit, whether it be Del Rio's dumbass comments, whether it be Dan Snyder and whoever in the front office want to sexually harass whoever fucking next, or the next allegation, next victim to fucking pop up. Like, when Ron keeps talking about he wants to close this chapter to continue to move on, well, can we? We got to make sure that everybody that's on board is fully on board in that way. And the thing is, the more you like a Del Rio kind of hang around, the more it seems like you're holding on to some of the bullshit. And like, Dan Snyder's not the first problematic owner we had. Like, Jack can't cook. Like, the winning covered up a lot. His coke-headed wife crashing cars in Georgetown.
Winning covers up everything.
Winning covers up everything. George Preston Marshall is a racist piece of shit. There's no getting around it. He's a racist piece of shit. And like, what? Franchise is worth a ton. We were the team, and just on the field, we need to win. I tell you right now, if Washington goes on a run this season and we're in the conversation for Super Bowl, Every single one of these states are going to turn a different fucking tune as far as what it is they think about the stadium. All these states, you'll see all the state senators of Virginia. Well, that's why we never said it was over. We were just tabling it for a year. Or you get Mario Bowser. That's why I said don't close the book, because you get Washingtonians to get fucking, oh shit, this could be fucking live. But what nobody wants is a losing team with no true brand identity, with no true tradition that we want to stick to, with problematic people left and right that do nothing but cause distraction and news stories that are not based on the product on the field. And an empty stadium. Who the fuck wants that? Who wants that?
We don't even want it.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
You want, so they've been talking about Prince William County. Yeah, y'all have been down to Woodbridge. Y'all been down to Potomac Mills. Y'all seen the traffic down there? We want to bring the traffic here for 55,000 other team fans to fucking fill the stadium. We want that. Fuck you. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, it's again, this franchise has a lot of cleaning up to do before it's attractive to anybody. Some of it, they can control just about all of it. Now that I think of it. So winning on the field, again, that comes down to good coaching. That comes down to no distractions. That comes down to simply executing on the field. We have talent. This is the best team we've had in quite some time.
Oh, yeah.
Let's be real. This is the best team we've had in quite some time. Again, the reports out of OTAs, I always discount 90% of it. That being said, I do think Jahan Dotson is having a really good OTA. Everyone seems to agree. They're like, okay, like this dude he's torching everybody. And like, yeah, let's see how our corners do. But when we talked about him, when we drafted him, we didn't find any real weaknesses. There weren't like these absurd strengths where he's elite in so many categories, but he's solid, right? I mean, that was a great pick.
He feels like Terry again.
Exactly.
A dude that knows the playbook is going to work extra hard. And we've seen what wide receivers are doing coming out of college.
Yeah,
he feels great.
Feels great. So we have done some really good things. We got Carson Wentz, again, best QB we've had since Cousins, maybe even RG3, depending on how things go. Change of scenery can be good. But speaking to that change of scenery, right? Like there is something to be said about the other stuff we control. So again, with Del Rio, it's hard for me to imagine that every single player on that defense is excited to play for him. Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Some people will be 100% professional and be like, you know what, that's your view. This is my view, whatever. We want to win together. Simple as that. There are going to be others that like, hey, that's in my head a little bit. And we can't have that. We can't afford that. Virginia basically said, hey, get rid of him and we could talk again. That's basically what they said. That's the reason it came out in direct correlation to, it was a quote tweet. It was a quote tweet of a video of Del Rio talking. Now it's a no. It was on that. Right. So there's something to be said about the mental freedom of playing for somebody else, right? Where everyone's on the same page in management. Mm-hmm. I would be shocked if Rivera and Del Rio are on the same page right now. Right. This is the second time.
I hope not.
It would be terrifying if they were, but that, by the way, you know, what's funny is that would actually help with the on the field stuff. I think if they're on the same page, actually, yeah. Thanks for saying that, Jack. I've been thinking about that for a while.
You know, the Negroes just saying Tyler too much. I just don't. Yeah, come on, Jack. Let's double down on this.
What do you think? I got mad at Jeremy.
What is Jennifer King and the rest of the coaching staff think? Right? Like I'm wondering this. Look, here's what it boils down to, and this is Ron speaking to you now. There are no excuses this year. We've been talking about it on this pod for weeks now. You got everything you said you wanted. You handpicked everything. Carson Wentz is here because you guys want him. Y'all made the draft picks. This coaching staff is handpicked by you. You get the buck stops now here with you. Yep. There's no excuses going into this year. There's not, hey, well, we won the division. We kind of skated by and won the division, and now we had an easy fucking schedule. An easy schedule. Everybody's come back healthy except maybe Chase and Logan, but beyond that, and you've tied yourself to this dude, Jack Del Rio, who when they did ask you about it, it won't be an issue until it's an issue in the locker room. It won't be an issue until maybe it's cool, man. If that's where you want to keep it, that's where you want to keep it. But I tell you, if this defense comes out undisciplined, if this defense comes out not top 5, top 10 ranked, you got shit to answer for.
By the way, we talked about it. First 3 games, Jaguars, Lions, Eagles. If for whatever reason we're 1-2, for whatever reason, I think he's definitely gone at that point.
Because that's the thing is like, I'm not actually giving this guy credit. So hear me out.
Yeah, of course.
Dan Snyder, at least, even though he himself is the most problematic, he's just a piece of shit. He did ask everyone else in the organization that had any bearing at any of this stuff. From Alex Santos to Larry Michael, everybody in between is gone. Yeah. He at least knew enough to know from a PR standpoint, if I need to do X, Y, and Z, I've at least got to rid all this shit. Right?
Yeah.
Like, Ron, if you really do want to close the chapter on the nonsense, we have to win on the field and create new traditions. But what we can't do is bring our baggage of bullshit with us as we do so.
Yeah.
We have to turn the page. And I think that's something that all of us have to look at when it comes to this franchise. The name change is symbolic of us moving forward. If you're one of those fans that's still harping on the name, bye. Fuck off. We got time for this. We have to start doing things this new way. And it's what Ron keeps talking about. I believe in it. But I'm wondering how real Ron is about it. I'm losing faith in Ron a little bit beyond this.
Sure. The things that we have done since we have been rebranded as the Washington Commanders, 4 things, right? We've been called to Congress for sexual harassment allegations. And then that opened things up to 2 financial improprieties that are also alleged. 3, we drafted Jahan Dotson with our first round pick, first ever for the Commanders. Right, under that name. And Jack Del Rio opened his mouth and expressed himself. Right. Those are the things that this rebrand has done so far. That's what we're known for right now. Right. So
should have been the quietest offseason of all time.
It should have been. This was the time to do it. Right. And let's be real. Congress targeted this franchise because they said it the day after the announcement.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing, but we still could control. It's just frustrating, right? Because this happens over and over and over again. And these are things that other franchises seem to have figured out.
But it's baked into the fabric of our being.
I know.
That's the thing that's so hard about it. Look, this is going to probably sound problematic shit. Might lose fans for it. The Washington Commanders, the Redskins, whatever you want to call them, are basically a microcosm of America. Okay? Like, this is kind of where we're at. Like, all right. We don't really want to learn our history, address our history, make actual meaningful changes to combat what our history is. Yeah. Right? We hold on to bullshit and nonsense more than we hold on to tangible, actual things that matter. It's just, we're a mess. And I think the more that all of us started to realize, like, hey, we're all a little sick that we follow these guys as hardcore as we do.
Yeah.
But we first acknowledge you got a problem and what steps we need to take to take it to solve it. For them in the front office needs to be no distractions. We got to win on the field. What is it? Grant and Danny winning on the field, right?
Right.
Let's get that done. That's all the focus should be on. Anybody saying anything other than that, shut the fuck up. Because look, I'll tell you right now, if half the play, this one thing you never really hear from Washington players either is that you can't even say that, like, none of our players are all that outspoken about anything. They're not.
No,
we have like one.
I love the characters. I love the characters in the locker room. Again, I love the players on this team.
How is it that the players are the least problematic?
I know. And you look at other franchises, and that's not the case, right? A lot of the players, but our players are actually good. Anyway,
but it's not even problematic. Like, they just don't even say anything. Like even when you have fans that will ask them about things that are like, they're not inflammatory to me, but they're things that other people might be inflamed about.
I can't think of a notable quote. I can't think of a notable quote.
They know how to, like, hey, I believe what I believe, but it doesn't really impact what it is that's happening on the field. And I'm here to play football, and I'm going to focus on that.
Literally,
they all hit it time and time again, and they knock it out of the fucking park. And every single time you get everybody else letting them down, and it's bullshit.
Yeah, the worst we had was the 56-14, whatever the score was. That blacked out on it against Dallas last year. It was Del Rio's defense getting 56 hung on, and Payne and Allen fought, and there were maybe a couple like clickbaity quotes from that, but they're fine, right? Like, so it's just, yeah, the players are being let down. I think that's a takeaway. The players are being let down again. This is one of the best teams we've had in quite some time. We have an opportunity to do something here. And then this comes up. That's where all this frustration is coming from. And by the way, keep harping on mental freedom and just being, the importance of everyone being united, stuff like that. Just to give a couple other examples, right? Let's talk about the Nationals. When Bryce Harper leaves, it was a lot of, hey, this is Bryce's team. It's all him. We win the World Series the very next season. Richie Burke, he's a good soccer mind. Like he had the spirit playing pretty well, but the moment he leaves and Chris Ward comes in, who's also a good coach, obviously, we go on a run. Don't lose another game for the rest of the season. Win the title, win the NWSL championship. So there is something to be said about, hey, taking that step back, and maybe you value somebody, but if they're problematic, you remove them, stuff frees up.
There's always going to be a little part of me that thinks as long as the top guy is in charge, we won't reach the promised land, right? But once again, I've said, historically, we've had a lot of problematic owners. You can start digging into stories on Jack Can't Cook, why we're in Landover in the first place, what was happening, a lot of personal behind the scenes and off the field shit for him. George Preston Marshall won't even get started. I already alluded to it. But the idea that I was seeing was that Ron Rivera and what it is they were doing were isolating the team away from the guy up top, from his influence and impact on the team. Mm-hmm. Now, it's hard pressed because of the bad PR and the bad publicity and the news stories you got to answer. But I even think the Washington media has actually left the players alone as far as answering the questions about Dan. We've done a tremendous job here as far as that, not getting the player. I'm kind of at a point right now, I can't ask anything else of the players. So what I would like to say is that if any of the players do want to speak out about any of this shit, I'd like to call it the Commanders United Alliance or Front between players and fans that want to move fucking forward.
That's all we want to do.
We want to move forward. We want to move forward with people that are ready to move the fuck forward. That are ready to take certain things, to understand our history as far as this franchise, to understand the history as far as the fucking country, to want to do anything possible to bring a winning product on the field, a product that we can all be proud of and cheer for. That's what I thought Ron was going to be the leader of. And right now, Ron, this is a bad look for you, bro.
It's a bad look. It is. A couple other people that have called out Del Rio and actually asked for either termination or resignation, and NAACP president Derek Johnson, and more recently, Jose Andres. We've got Jose Andres involved, ladies and gentlemen. So
don't want him on your bad side.
You do not.
Why would you ever want to be in the opposite side of what Jose Andres is doing?
I know.
Why?
One of the better humanitarians out there. You know what? Let's jump to the comment mailbag. We could go forever on this stuff. But we did get some comments. First one is from Nandini Singh. Hello, sis. Y'all need an original fight song. Get Pauly Polo on that. Gonna love that. We need to talk to Pauly Polo. It's been a while. Could be pretty fun to see what he comes up with. He's actually an underrated freestyler. For those that don't know, oh yeah. For those that don't know, Pauly Polo is the one that does the intro to this pod. We actually have another intro to the pod. KDot made it's super awesome. Made it a while back. Probably gonna transition to that. It's pretty kick ass.
I don't remember what I did, honestly. I remember I had to listen to that
in the next episode.
I had to listen to that song a lot, which is dope because it gives me all these flashbacks. Telling Town.
Maybe we'll play it after this. And then we got Alan, who is back with some more comments. In reference to the Jets, you forgot to talk about Breece Hall for the Jets. He's going to be fired, the Iowa State running back. So I'm going to have to push the Jets to be better, but it's going to be close. I agree. It's comment number one. And then comment number two. For next week, comment bag, I think we need to talk about some foreign things. Arsenal finishing below Spurs and future outlook. Haaland in effect with City. And lastly, can ETH, Eric Ten Hag, fix United? Unless he's talking about Ethereum. Ethereum right now cannot fix anything. They've been tanking for quite some time.
I've lost a lot of money.
Lost a lot of money on Ethereum. Haaland's going to be great for Man City. Arsenal finishing below Spurs sucks, but I imagine that will change. Future outlook is bright. We did forget about Breece Hall. Did not mention Breece Hall. Harped more on the first round picks for the for the
It's
Jets.
the Jets.
It's the Jets. It's ultimately the Jets.
Brees Hall, look, I like a lot of young running backs coming out of college, especially since the position itself is so undervalued at this particular point in time. At least nobody cares about the running back position.
They're not getting paid like they used to.
Paid the way they used to. And there's some top 10, like fucking Najee Harris. Jesus. Like, Brees Hall looks like he could be a stud. 6'1", 220, tough frame, can run real fast. I like him. He's a Jet, though.
Yeah. That's an excellent ending point there. I've been wanting to get to this one for a while. Tony P56. Thanks, guys. Love the After the Pod segment. Keep going. I wanted to get to it because Tony P has actually commented on a number of other videos before. So shout out, Tony. Thank you so much for listening to us this whole time. Really appreciate it. Keep listening. We really appreciate it. So just wanted to shout him out because he's been way overdue for a shout out. He's been very loyal and consistent listening to this program. Then we have, what's this? Matthew, is it Regan or Reagan? Regan?
Is the name worth remembering?
I don't know. But this guy, Matthew, must be Reagan, comments 2735 where Amit shows his genius and KDot shows he knows nothing. 2735. Oh, this is the Commanders 2022 NFL schedule released. This is where I picked the Lions to beat us week 2, and you picked us to beat the Lions in Detroit. Anything to say to Matthew, who I believe is a pretty big fan of the show?
Fuck off.
It's good to hear from you, brother. Matt Regan, everybody.
I do miss those guys. I miss those guys.
Absolutely. Appreciate the comment, bud. I would agree. I think I showed some genius there, some historical context behind why we might lose to the Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell, Motor City Dan Campbell, they're biting kneecaps.
They're running it back with Jared Goff.
And we have a guy in charge of our defense, and I'm not sure what our defense is going to look like. So Goff might tear it up.
Can you name 5 players on that team? You might.
I might.
I'm curious.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so Goff, Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, fucking DeAndre Swift.
He's still there?
Yeah. DeAndre.
He's still got working legs.
DeAndre Swift is still there.
I see him on the IR. I think more than I see him on the field. But am I wrong about that?
And then Aiden Hutchinson, because he's there. And Jeff Okudah, who unfortunately hurt himself. But
congrats.
I think he's back. Thank you.
Everything you remember for every draft show the last 5 years is the reason he got through that.
That's literally how that happened. And I could not name a player more. I'm stuck at 6 over there. That's the comment mailbag. Honestly, we've just been venting this whole time. We appreciate you guys listening. That's the show. This is District Divided, a DC sports podcast, but we would love for you guys to chime in. Hey, if you have a counter argument, if you want to have that discussion, anything like that, I'm totally open to it. I know KDot's totally open to it. So we just choose to have this platform, but we would love to share it with you guys as well so that we can have the conversation and maybe we can understand a thing or two as well.
I will admit my voice is only now coming back after all the screaming I did at all the white people at the Outer Banks bachelor party. So I can't promise you I'm not going to be the loud, angry black man, but I'm more than willing to have a conversation with you.
More than willing to have the conversation. So once again, DC Sports Podcast, District Divided. Thank you guys so much for listening. This happens every Friday, 2 p.m. is the release time. Appreciate you listening, and we will see you next week. Until then, take it easy. Woo. All right.
That was fun.
I think we needed that.
It was fun. Like, Jack Del Rio just pissed me off. I thought about this. So I did ASOS, the other podcast I do yesterday.
Yeah.
Day before yesterday, when the day of the Jack Del Rio. And I did some yelling. Mm-hmm. And like Brendan talked to me and I was doing some more yelling. And then, like, for District Divided, I want to come correct always, right? Like maybe I get my shit off on those podcasts because people I'm more concerned about the audience of this podcast than probably any other one. So I want to be measured in what it is that I say when I say it for the most part.
And so I try and be measured. I think you probably noticed that, but I also want to be very authentic. And right. I wrestled back and forth between saying anything, right? About like, hey, I don't think Jack Del Rio should be the defensive coordinator of this team at this point. Because that's a big thing to do, right?
You
like,
went further than I am, Gwilny, on it.
Right. That's another man's livelihood. I get it. You know, like that's heavy. That's heavy. And there is part of me that's like, man, maybe I shouldn't have even said that. But like, I don't know. It's not the first time with him, right? Like, that's the thing. He's got this history of like, it's quite clear where he lies. And it's one thing to, I get Stephen A being like, hey, you know, I applaud him for coming out and saying this, but I don't know. Maybe it's better served that he doesn't, because then at least that potential rift doesn't exist. It's a tricky situation. It is a tricky situation because he is speaking his mind. He's right.
Right. And I think that's the thing, is that like, until I think he should be able to say whatever fuck it is he wants to say. I appreciate now that I don't have to necessarily look through this filter of trying to understand where you're coming from. I know where you stand. So like, when you make certain decisions, I'm like, oh, this is most likely where it's coming from. And I can make sense of what it is you're doing. And then I can react accordingly to what you do.
Yeah.
Whereas like, you have people that'll constantly smile in your face, not say anything. And then when they do something, you're just kind of like, I thought they liked me. Like, I thought they did this, that, and you're looking or searching for it. And so I made the comment earlier about the whole like moderate white voter. And it's, honest to God, like when I go to the South, if I see you doing the Klan hood, like if I see you legit in the Klan hood, what does that tell me? I don't need to fuck with you. Cool.
Plain and simple.
You wore your flag out. I got it. I'm gonna stay the fuck away from you. We do not need to coexist. It's all right. Yeah. Compared to the dude that wears a suit or his khakis and a tiki torch, that gets me to a point where I'm like, hey, I don't know where you stand and you're doing some really weird shit. Where are we?
Here's a question I have for you. Let's say, so Del Rio made the comments. Let's say the players fucking love him, right? Like on defense, they're like, hey, we have always known where he stood. We appreciate his authenticity. And yeah, while we may disagree, we love him and we will always play for him. Do you want him to stay as defensive coordinator?
I never wanted him to go as defensive coordinator necessarily until it becomes an issue in the locker room that I'm aware of.
Right. And so that's where I stay with Ron, right? Like if they can play for him, because like he's got a good track record in terms of like being able to coach defenses. We had an entire episode on him. Yeah. If the players are with him, then fine. But I'm not sure that's the case. So I doubt it. And that's my problem. That's my big problem.
I get that, but here's what we have to do. The players have to speak for themselves. The players have to speak out if they have an issue.
It's also dicey for them, right? What if they're a fringe player?
Dude, I get it. That's
their career.
I get it. But I think right now, if the Washington Commanders, right, are saying, we're going to let Jack slide whatever thoughts he has, then other people got to flex that too. And we got to see where it is they stand on it. Like, if Ron Rivera came out here today and said, I am sick and fucking tired of distractions. Jack, you're gone. Not because of what you said, but because of the media storm that you created. Okay. And then I'm like, Ron, get it, cool, but you set a precedent. This is the way the team's gonna rock.
Right.
Understood. But if Ron's saying, hey, I'm gonna let Jack cook as long as he's not interrupting what's happening as far as the inner dynamics of the team and the guys are still willing to play for him. All right, I can understand it. I don't necessarily agree with it. I understand it. And I don't think anybody should necessarily be fired outright because of something they said. It's got, what are your actions behind that? If Jack Del Rio benches Fuller in midseason, who has 10 interceptions, for Troy Apke, who has nothing, then I'm like, right. All right, come on, guy. Like, right. So it's like one of those sort of situations. I'm like, all right, yeah, all right. I can draw a through line now. Yeah. And I get it. All right, cool. No, we're done with this.
Yeah.
Or if he, once again, I look at the last season, the entire first half of the last season, defense play undisciplined as shit. I get the offense did not help them out as far as field position and turnovers, but they did not play discipline. All the guys in the front were all pass rushing. Nobody had any lane discipline. Nobody were looking any of the gaps the way they were supposed to, and nobody worked together at all. And that speaks to a defensive coordinator having a chasm as far as what it is that he's getting into his players.
Dude, it was early days, but Josh Allen literally turned his entire season around with the game against us.
Yep.
All of a sudden, he's like, oh, wait, football's fun again. And then he ends up, fast forward, he has the shootout with Mahomes and stuff like that. I just want to make clear again that, like, my thing is Jack expressing himself fine, right? But if it's going to affect the on-field product, and I suspect it will, right? Then he shouldn't be here. That's my point. I just want to make that abundantly clear.
And I think nobody should disagree with you at all. I don't. But this is where I say that, look, I shouldn't have to ask the players to do anything else. Right. Showing up every day to come to play for this organization is hard enough as it is. The fact that the players would even have to be in a position to speak up for themselves in this sort of situation speaks to the distraction that has been created that Ron needs to address.
Right.
That being said, I do believe that the only chance that you're actually going to see anything change is if the players come out and actually speak about it. Jonathan Allen, dude, unless you have your own PR, you have a future in fucking PR management.
Oh my gosh.
As far as the way you handled that. Perfect. Phenomenal job, brother. Phenomenal job. But I also, if you do feel some sort of way, this is the opportunity. Like, I get it. The players have to walk this fine line. We saw what happened to Colin Kaepernick, Kaepernick did everything the right way. He went and he talked to people in the military. What was going to be the most respectful way for me to do this? What was going to be this, that, and the other? And he got blackballed, blacklisted. So, like, I get it. And especially, like you said, if you're a fringe player, you don't want to necessarily take that step. But if you're a Chase Young, once again, I'm not asking this of you, Chase.
Right.
But if you do feel some sort of way about this, this is the opportunity to flex. This is the opportunity for us to look back at the guys that used to look back at the Bill Russells who paved the way, the Muhammad Ali's that paved the way, and say, yo, I've got an issue with something that's happening.
Yeah.
This is why. And speaking on it, this is why, like, look, the fact that we haven't heard any players say anything outright about Dan Snyder, who I get is writing the checks.
You're right.
But Lord knows I've always been waiting for it.
Oh, sure. So this is a wishful thought that you're having. Like, hey, it would be awesome if, but also understood that. Right.
But that's another thing, is that a lot of times the reason players don't want to say anything, just call it what it is. A lot of our fucking fans are problematic as fuck.
Yeah.
They're just bad.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true.
We have a lot of fucking shit.
This is why we're called District Divided, by the way. I don't know if people know that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, fuck the other side, though. It's like they are some problematic motherfuckers that root for this team.
Sure, but I think you find that in any fan base. I don't think there's any one fan base where they're like, okay, I understand given the history of this fan base.
This team has more problematic, especially when it comes to race things.
Sure.
Than most franchises. That's just what it is. Fight for Old Dixie. It was baked into the fabric of our team. Period.
There you go.
It's historical.
KDot, before we wrap up though, and this is spoiler alert for everybody, we are now going to talk about Drive to Survive. I burned through that thing.
Holy shit. You finished?
Oh, it's so good. Are you all the way caught up?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, cool. Okay, again, spoiler alert, because we are now going to dive into some of the details of Drive to Survive. Please, if you are watching it right now, do not listen any further, but do like and subscribe.
I think you're the only one.
Yeah, I'm so far behind. Like, everybody else has watched this, but just in case. That show is so good. And the final episode of season 4, that felt like peak WWF, WWE. Like, how could they have scripted it any better than that? That was amazing.
Do you watch Formula One? Do you watch the races?
I do now. I got it recording. Right, so I'm getting into it.
They had practice one for Azerbaijan happen today.
Yeah, I'm about to watch it after this.
Yeah, Formula One TV.
Oh
yeah. That's the thing, is that, so like, I was watching last season, and the entire thing that anybody was saying while we're watching this shit happen in real time was, can't wait for Try to Survive, yeah. So can't wait for Try to Survive, yeah. How the fuck, dude? And to see the heads that rolled after everything that happened, it was you could not script anything as crazy that. And the thing is, this season so far, it's shaping up to be fucking crazier.
Yeah, dude. So I just looked at the driver standings, the constructor standings, stuff like that. Constructors championship. It's so good. I'm so glad Netflix did this. I'm so glad Formula One did this, because this is an entire world of just like getting into the minds of these drivers is amazing.
It's real life
so
entourage with stakes. It's like,
yes,
we're watching these 20
when you see
year olds.
Ricardo win Monaco for the first time and they're showing all the women and like the lifestyle and stuff like that, that is exactly what you're talking about.
Like they drive around in cars that the manufacturers give them. They're the top of the line fucking hundreds of $1,000 cars. They whip around. They half the F1 team lives in Monaco. Half the drivers just fucking live in Monaco year round. Yeah. You hear about something like Lewis Hamilton losing his driver's license how many times racing through the streets?
I know.
England.
It's fucking awesome.
So they're on yachts. There's parties. There's and the thing is, I respect Drive to Survive for not even focusing that much on that aspect, even though they could if they wanted to. Like, there's so many things they could probably show, but just showing these dudes and like the toys that they have. Where you see Daniel Ricciardo on his 4-wheeler off in the fucking outback, like doing his shit. It's just the infighting, the rivalry.
Oh my gosh, teammates!
Everyone's on a mic. There's so much competition. It's the thing that Drive to Survive is the only show that I know that has 100% success rate, at least anecdotally for me. Of anyone that I've talked to about it says that all they needed to do was start watching. When now they're hooked and they watch Formula One. I've never seen anything this great. This feels as though it's almost propaganda in the level of like NFL films in the 60s and the 70s, right?
Will Buxton is a huge star. He is great, but his delivery of all the storylines too, when they interview him, is brilliant. And they always have a little scene of him asking the questions to the drivers and stuff like that. Like, he's everyone's boy. This is as much his show.
Americans are dumb. We are dumb as shit. And all you need to do is put it in a TV show. We got it. Yeah. I got F1 video games now.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, I'm about to get a Ferrari hat. I'm about to go Team Ferrari.
Are you Team Ferrari?
I think so. I think
I'm McLaren. I'm the McLaren guy.
Okay.
I got my $300 McLaren hoodie, which the sponsorships have changed, so now it's out of date. I ain't buying another one right now.
So I had the heads up of like, I understand how European stuff works, right? Just being an Arsenal fan, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to buy every single jersey because the sponsor is going to change very soon. But yeah, I think a Ferrari hat would be pretty solid. I'm trying to get one without Leclerc signs on it, just a regular Ferrari that can last.
I fucking love Leclerc though.
Dude, how could you not?
I mean, my favorite driver is Lando. Lando Norris is my favorite.
Lando's a boss. The way he stepped up when Daniel Ricciardo joined, it was like, fuck it, I'm gonna show him who's boss. And he did so well that season.
Are you caught? I need you to get caught up on what's happening this season.
Okay. So well, I don't have it like memorized, but like, the other day I put on the what was it? I put on the Spanish Grand Prix, and that dude, when Leclerc's engine just failed, it's like, dude, he won it. Like, it was his. I could not believe it, because I was like watching from the Ferrari lens of like, okay, let me try and be the Ferrari fan. And I was cursing the TV out.
And Red Bull still using their Red Bull Honda engines, but it looks like they're gonna completely get away from the Honda and they have their own brand coming. What is that gonna do? Yeah. I think Ricardo's out this season. Honestly, there's a lot.
He's not done well.
He's not done well, and Lando's just. But I also think Lando, like, if we're talking about like pound for pound, best driver, is probably third best in the world.
Okay, who would you say are the two? Well, Verstappen obviously is going to be there.
Verstappen and Leclerc.
And Leclerc, yeah, and they're the same age.
Yeah, the thing is, like, awesome. And I'm a toss up between those two. I think Leclerc is a better overall driver. I just think Verstappen has bigger balls than anybody.
I was going to say his aggression comes out he's almost very clearly.
Yeah, and the thing is, early on this season, when they had the way that they were doing the DRS shit, where there are literal races where like Leclerc or the Verstappen would slam on their brakes to get the other guy to go past, so they could then turn on DRS to go right back. It was so epic. So they had to like warn, like, you're not allowed to do that. You can't come to a complete stop on the fucking track.
Just so you can enable DRS because you're within a second. Yeah.
Or Verstappen learning, he's letting off. I'm gonna slam on my brakes right now. You go, motherfucker. Like,
it's incredible.
I fucking
love it. But the way, tap that. Sorry. But the way again they filmed that last episode, and the moment where Lewis Hamilton goes after so they have the yellow flag, they allow the cars to go, the safety car beyond the safety car, and Will, of course, delivers it perfectly. The only person that benefited was Max, right? And then it shows him, and Lewis goes, "Does he have new tires behind me?" Like that moment was so epic. The way that Lewis said it, of like, oh shit, that felt like it was scripted, right? Like, does he fucking have new tires? There's one lap to go. Oh my god.
Also, Checo with the blocking.
Oh my god, what a legend! I was rooting for him so hard, just like slowing down.
It was amazing.
Lewis, just to let Max catch up.
That was some of the best driving I'd ever seen.
And that was like the one nicest thing I've ever heard Max say was, "Checo, you legend."
If you go down a rabbit hole, what you want to do is on YouTube, they got time on listen to the driver radio of every single driver and their comment on when the lap cars got to go.
Wait, that's there on YouTube? Oh, that's okay. So
before
they have
I
watch the practice,
audio
watch that.
Of every single driver's reaction.
Oh my god.
That's when you see like in Drive to Start, when you see like Vettel goes over to Hamilton. Yeah, Vettel had something to say. Lando had something to say. You hear the guys kind of like,
wow.
I could say something. I know I'm being recorded right now, so I'm not going to. But there's like, you can hear it from everybody.
Where they're
Lance
like, that's
Stroll, all of
kind of bull. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think the end of season 4, they get into Nikita Mazepin a bit, right?
The very end of season 4, there was an episode on Haas where they talk about Nikita. Dude, what a fucking Jesus.
Nikita Mazepin.
Mazepin. I love that.
One of the worst.
I could not believe it. The sense of entitlement that I could believe because of his dad and stuff like that. Like, I think Lance sort of has that too. Like, easily the most job security. Although I saw Nikita's not there this season, which great for Haas. How could you not love Gunther Steiner?
That's why this season of the next season of Drive to Survive is about to blow season 4 out of the water. Because there are pictures of Mazepin's dad, or I guess Mazepin, with Putin the day before the Ukrainians. And Putin wasn't seeing anybody. They're together in his office, like, and Putin's afraid of COVID. They're sitting like fucking 2 feet away from each other, just having a long conversation right before the fight. Then Mazepin has tried to put together this union for Russian athletes to feel discriminated against because of what's happening. It's such a fucking show, man.
Dude, it's an amazing product. I can't wait. I can't wait. Yeah. So you got the McLaren hoodie. I think I'm probably leaning Ferrari hat. They've got some pretty dope stuff
never
in the store, though. Yeah.
Red with the Ferrari logo, you're safe.
Yeah, that is true.
Never gonna change.
That is not gonna change. It's been occupying my headspace like crazy. It's been so awesome.
Brendan marathon. I got Brendan to watch it. He marathon every season like a week and a half. And
so
he started like he got done. I'd say like by race 2 or 3. We've gotten together for the races. Like literally, beautiful. I'm going to pick him up at like 3:00 in the morning, and like, all right, we're gonna watch the race.
Yeah,
and then he's a Haas guy because America.
Okay, right.
So he's doing
good luck, man. It's a journey.
Yeah, but he's just rooting for. He wants to see Verstappen and Leclerc just down the final race.
Sure,
which I think is gonna happen.
I think that's fair. From what I saw in the standings, that looks like it's gonna happen. Ferrari needs to figure out their freaking engine failures and gearbox failures, stuff like that.
It was Red Bull early on. Red Bull was just having fucking failures left and right.
So it's more or less evened out, is what you're saying.
It's kind of even out. And then Mercedes, why is George Russell better than Hamilton? That's a question.
Another storyline. Storyline.
Why is Mercedes still not completely figured it out? Where's McLaren? Why is Lando 10 spots above fucking Ricciardo? What's happening there?
What do you think before we wrap it up? Because there's so many things we could talk about. But like I started, when did I start? May 25th. I was like en route to Vegas. God, this is an after the pod segment. I could have just talked about Vegas. Anyway, but but I was on my way to Vegas, and then I finished like literally just a couple of days ago. So like, yeah, about 2 weeks. Went through the whole thing, and it was easy. I mean, it was, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm marathoning The Boys now. That's what I'm going.
The Boys. I haven't even heard of it.
So it's basically how fucked up can superheroes be? Is basically if there's a tagline.
I'm about it.
Yeah, so I'm only 2 episodes in because I just started. There's been enough people who've been like, "Yo, you gotta know this." Because right now I finished We Own the City. If you haven't watched it, gotta watch it.
Okay.
Obi-Wan's on right now. I like the first episode of Miss Marvel. Huge fan of that. But now, like, my next marathon, I'm going through The Boys, and then I guess got to watch The Offer, the making of The Godfather. Was on Paramount. That just ended, I think, last night or a couple days ago. So I'm gonna binge that soon.
Have you seen the latest Stranger Things? Yes or no?
No, I haven't seen the last 2 seasons of Stranger Things.
Okay.
It's not because I dislike it as a show. It's that I needed a break from that 80s kids on bicycles nostalgia. Like,
That's
after it was kind of a high water. The It remake was really good to me.
Mhm.
I even like chapter 2, even though I wasn't good at chapter 1. But it's just too much. And then the Ghostbusters movie, it's just, all right, the 80s kids riding around on bikes. Can I just get like a moment away from that? So I know I'm gonna go back to Stranger Things. I love the cast. I'll definitely go back to it. It's just it's not a priority. And the circles I'm in, people ain't spoiling it.
All right. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. So I think you could just do whatever. Well, all right, boss. I think the after the pod might be as long, if not longer than the episode.
100%.
Hey, take it easy, Chief. I'll talk to you
All right,
later.
brother.
Peace.